How to practice vulnerability in relationships. So, how can we cultivate vulnerability in our relationships? Here are 5 steps. First, start small. Second, create a safe place or space. Third, listen without judgment. Fourth, embrace imperfection. And fifth, be present. Let's Namaskar and hello. Welcome to Love Decoded, Season 1 of the podcast Inspired Living with Vishwas. Welcome back to Episode 5 of Love Decoded. In our previous episode, we explored the sacredness of relationships in Tantra, a divine interplay of energies that can transform our lives. Today, we take a step closer to the heart of authentic connection by talking about something most of us fear but deeply need: vulnerability. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as weakness, but in truth, it is the gateway to genuine intimacy and love. It is the courage to show up as we are, imperfect, raw, and real. In this episode, we will uncover the power of vulnerability through ancient wisdom, personal stories, and practical tools that can help you unblock deeper connections in your relationships. So, what is vulnerability? The Sanskrit word abhivyakti means expression or revealing. Vulnerability is the act of revealing our innermost self, our fears, our dreams, our imperfections to another. It is the willingness to say, "This is me," without my mask. But why is this so difficult? The answer lies in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as not enough. The Upanishads remind us, Satyam vadam atmanam vijanihi, which when translated means speak your truth, know yourself. Vulnerability is about speaking our truth and allowing others to see us as we truly are. It is an act of immense courage. Let me share a story from Indian folklore that illustrates the beauty of vulnerability. There was once a water bearer who carried 2 pots to fetch water from the river. One pot was perfect, but the other had a crack and leaked water on the way back. The cracked pot felt ashamed and apologized to the water bearer, saying, "I'm broken. I fail you every day." The water bearer smiled and said, "Look at the path we take to this house. On your side, flowers bloom. I planted seeds there because I knew you would water them. Your imperfection creates beauty." This story teaches us that our vulnerabilities, our cracks, are not flaws to hide, but gifts to share. They make us human, and they allow us to connect authentically with others. Osho spoke often about the power of vulnerability. He said, "Vulnerability is the only bridge to true connection. When you hide behind walls, you may feel safe, but you will never feel love." He also taught that vulnerability is the opposite of ego. The ego says, "I am invincible. I don't need anyone." Vulnerability says, "I am human. I am willing to be seen." Have you ever noticed that the moments when you felt closest to someone were often the moments when you shared something vulnerable? Maybe a fear, a failure, or a dream. That's because vulnerability dissolves the walls between us and allows love to flow freely. In Tantra, vulnerability is considered sacred because it is the foundation of true union. Tantra teaches that when we meet another person, we are not just meeting their body or their mind, we are meeting their essence. To connect at this level, we must let go of our masks and reveal our true selves. This is called Satya Darshan, or the vision of truth. A tantric practice called sharing circles emphasizes this. Partners or groups sit together and speak openly about their fears, desires, and emotions without judgment. The act of sharing vulnerably creates a safe space for connection and healing. Let's turn to Buddhist philosophy for another perspective on vulnerability. The Buddha taught that to truly connect, we must approach others with an open hand, not a closed fist. The open hand symbolizes trust, honesty, and willingness to give and receive. The Dhammapada says, "Attanam upamam krutva na hanne na ghataye," which, when translated, means by seeing yourself in others, you create a bond of compassion and trust. This openness, the willingness to expose our hearts, is the essence of vulnerability. It is the path to authentic connection. Let's be honest. Vulnerability is risky. When we open up to someone, we risk being hurt or rejected, but the rewards far outweigh the risks. Vulnerability allows us to experience deeper love, greater trust, and profound intimacy. Think about it. Would you rather be loved for the mask you wear or for who you truly are? The poet Rumi said, "Don't be satisfied with stories. Unfold your own myth." Your vulnerabilities are part of your myth, your unique story. By sharing them, you invite others to share theirs. How to practice vulnerability in relationships? So, how can we cultivate vulnerability in our relationships? Here are 5 steps. First, start small. Second, create a safe place or space. Third, listen without judgment. Fourth, embrace imperfection. And fifth, be present. Let's understand these steps one by one. The first one, start small. Begin by sharing something small with someone you trust. Vulnerability is like a muscle. It grows stronger with practice. Often the mistake that we do is when we find someone trustworthy or we feel someone is trustworthy, we try to dump everything. Well, the another person must not be in a position or may not be in a position to assimilate everything that you dump. Second step is to create a safe space. Find or create relationship where honesty and acceptance are valued. So before you share, take a moment, take a time, and once you feel comfortable, it's only then you should go forward. The third step is listen without judgment. When someone shares their vulnerability with you, hold space for them. Don't judge or try to fix. Simply listen. And this is where most of us make a mistake. We try to either judge or we try to fix the problem. That is unwarranted at times. All that is required is to listen without judgment. The fourth step is embrace imperfection. Remember, you don't need to be perfect to be loved. In fact, it is your imperfections that make you relatable and real. And therefore, be imperfect or accept or embrace the another one who is imperfect. The fifth step is be present. Vulnerability requires presence. When you are fully present with someone, they feel safe to open up. So, when you listen to somebody, when you listen to somebody's fear or pain, ensure that you are 100% present over that moment with that person. And being present is therefore crucial to be vulnerable. In Tantra, there is a beautiful saying, Bhedan na janati yadi Atmanam Katham Janeta, which means if you do not reveal, how can you truly know yourself? When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we not only connect with others but also with our own soul. Vulnerability is the key that unlocks the doorway to authenticity, compassion, and love. As we close this episode, I invite you to reflect. When was the last time you allowed yourself to be truly vulnerable? And what might change in your life if you embraced vulnerability as a strength? This week, take one small step forward towards vulnerability. It could be sharing a fear with someone you trust, or simply acknowledging your feelings to yourself. In our next episode, we will explore how love, intimacy, and vulnerability come together in the art of sacred sexuality, a profound aspect of Tantra. Well, thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, may your courage to be vulnerable lead you to deeper connections and a more authentic life. Hey, but before we say goodbye, until we meet next time, I would like to remind you that recently a fiction-based self-help book on relationship has been authored by me. It's available on multiple online platforms such as Amazon, Google Books, Apple Books, and many others. It's called Love Transcended, where love evolves into consciousness. Join me in diving into the deep conversations of Ishan and Elena with an evolved sage, Advaita. Love Transcended, where love evolves into consciousness. Until we meet next time, be in love at all time.